Okay, let's talk about AI. Right now, it feels like we're all at this massive, high stakes poker table. And the big question is, are we holding a royal flush in a real deal technological revolution, or are we just bluffing our way through another tech bubble? That's what we're going to dig into today. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at all the reasons this might be a bubble. Then, we'll flip the script and argue why it's a real breakthrough. After that, we'll get practical. What do you actually do about it? And finally, we'll look at the end game. Sound good? Let's jump in. All right, section 1. Let's play devil's advocate for a minute. We're going to make the case that this whole AI boom is a bubble. Are we just witnessing some massive hype-fueled hysteria? Let's see.
So the folks who are screaming bubble are pointing to 4 classic red flags. And honestly, if you've been around the block in tech, these are going to sound pretty familiar.
First up, the hype. I mean, it's just over the top, right? You see these demo videos that look like they were directed by Michael Bay. They're incredible, they're cinematic, but here's the worry. Is the marketing just way, way better than the actual tech? And then, of course, you have to follow the money. It is insane. Just look at this. Valuations for seed stage startups, brand new companies, have basically doubled. We're talking $20, $30 million for a couple of people and a PowerPoint deck. That's kind of wild. And this isn't just some abstract idea. Take a look at this number, $9.2 million. That was a seed round for a first-time Founders app. It just goes to show you how much cash is getting fire-hosed into this space right now. Okay, red flag number 3 is a big one for investors. They call it a moat, what protects your castle from invaders. The problem is, so many of these new AI startups have really, really thin moats. They're all just building a pretty wrapper on top of the exact same tech from OpenAI or Google. So what's stopping anyone from copying them? It just becomes a race to see who can spend the most on ads. Now this is fascinating. Some people call this the AI house of cards, and you can see why. Just follow the money here. You, the user, you pay an app, let's say $200. But that app has to pay OpenAI maybe $500 to run the models. And OpenAI pays Amazon Web Services $1,000 for the cloud. And AWS turns around and pays NVIDIA $10,000 for the chips. That math, it just doesn't work, right? So what's plugging that huge hole? Venture capital money. And the scary part is, if that VC money dries up, this whole beautiful system, it could collapse overnight. Okay, so that's the doom and gloom. It sounds pretty convincing, right? But that's only half the story. There's a really powerful argument on the other side that says, no, this is not a bubble. This is the real deal. So let's flip the coin. What if this time it's actually different? The case against a bubble, the case for a genuine revolution, really stands on 4 key pillars. And these suggest that what we're building is on solid ground, not just a bunch of hype. First and foremost, this stuff actually works. I mean, really works. This isn't like some past tech trends where it was all theoretical. People right now are using these tools to solve real problems. We're talking about taking tasks that used to eat up hours and crushing them in minutes. The utility is real, it's tangible, and it's happening today. The economics are also starting to make a lot more sense. And a huge reason why is because the cost of something called inference is dropping like a rock. Now, inference is basically just the doing part of AI. It's the cost to actually use the model to get a result. I love this analogy. Think of it like a chef. Training the AI model is like teaching that chef every single recipe in the entire world. That's super expensive and takes forever, right? But inference is just walking up to that super chef and saying, hey, can you make me a lasagna? That's the cheap, easy, everyday request. And since the cost of asking for lasagna is getting cheaper and cheaper, building a profitable AI business starts to look way more achievable. And then there's the adoption. It is just staggering. We've never seen anything like it. That number you see, 700 million, that's just the active users for ChatGPT alone. It's not just individuals either. Huge companies are signing these massive multi-year enterprise deals. They're weaving AI into the very fabric of how they operate. This stuff is getting sticky. So we have these 2 completely opposite stories, bubble or breakthrough. So what? What does any of this actually mean for you, for your job, for your company? That's what we're getting into now. A playbook for how to ride this wave, whichever way it ends up crashing. Okay, so you basically have to pick a side, and your strategy flows from there. If you believe this is a bubble, your playbook is all about survival. Focus on cash, now. Be profitable. Don't count on your stock options making you a millionaire. But if you believe this is the next big thing, a real revolution, then you play a totally different game. It's all about speed and scale. Grab market share, own the data, build a community. You're playing the long game. But here's the thing. Whether you think it's a bubble or not, some things are always true. These are the fundamentals of just building a good business, period. Talk to your customers every week. Figure out how to make a profit. Keep the customers you have. In a crazy market like this, these fundamentals are your North Star. All right, final section. Let's zoom out and talk about the end game. Because if you want to predict the future, it really helps to look at the past. And it turns out these big tech waves, they follow a pretty consistent and kind of predictable pattern. Here's what history teaches us. The crash, it's not the end. A lot of the time, it's actually a necessary part of the process. Think of it like a forest fire. It seems destructive, but it clears out all the underbrush. You get the massive hype, then the inevitable crash. Then comes the shakeout, where the weak companies die off. And what emerges from the ashes? The real, enduring value. I mean, just think about the dot-com bust, right? Everybody remembers the spectacular flameouts like Pets.com. But what else came out of that era? Amazon, a multi-trillion-dollar company. The giants are often forged in fire. The bubble, for all its craziness, attracts the money and the talent, and the survivors get to build on top of all of it. So that's the debate. On one hand, you've got shaky economics and over-the-top hype. On the other, you have real utility and mind-blowing user adoption. Bubble or breakthrough? Now the question goes back to you. What do you think? Which future are you betting on? Because whatever you decide, that's going to shape every move you make from here on out.